I still remember the heat, the kind that crawled under your skin and made your clothes stick to your back like glue. It was the middle of July, somewhere off Interstate 10, and I was standing outside a rundown gas station in the middle of Arizona, squinting against the sunlight, holding two warm water bottles, and wondering why the car wasn't where we'd parked it 10 minutes ago. At first, I thought maybe they'd just moved it. Maybe Dad needed to reposition it for the pump. Maybe Mom saw something in the convenience store next door and they'd gone to grab it. I scanned the lot. Nothing. My heart kicked a little in my chest. I walked around the side of the building. Still nothing. The car, the one I'd spent the last 5 days cramped in the back of, next to my sister's designer luggage, was gone. Gone. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, already feeling a strange tension spread through my chest. A message from Sarah. "Good luck getting home, Em. Let's see how long you last on your own." I stared at the screen, blinking. The sunlight burned my eyes, but I couldn't move. My fingers hovered above the screen, waiting for another text that would say, "Just kidding, be right back." But it didn't come. Instead, another ping. This one from Dad. "You're 22, time to grow up. Life doesn't come with a chauffeur." I didn't laugh, because it wasn't a joke. They'd really left me, in the middle of nowhere, with $5 in my wallet, and nothing but a secondhand backpack holding some clothes, a sketchbook, and a half-eaten granola bar. And the worst part, I think they thought this was funny. The trip had started like most of our family bonding trips: forced smiles, lots of passive-aggressive comments, and an unspoken rule that no one was allowed to talk about anything real. We were supposed to be heading to Santa Fe for a family reset after Sarah's high school graduation. She got flowers, champagne, a new suitcase. I got to ride in the back, middle seat. Even before they left me behind, I'd already been edged out. It started the moment we left our driveway. My mom had a running commentary about my life choices. "Still no job offers, Em. You know your cousin Jordan just got promoted to regional manager at that startup. You really should have considered business school." Dad chimed in, while scanning the GPS. "Maybe if you spent less time on your little art stuff and more time networking, you'd have a real plan by now." And Sarah, she just sat there, filing her nails and smirking at me through the rearview mirror. She didn't have to say anything. She was the golden child, always had been. Everything she touched turned into applause. Meanwhile, I was the daughter with potential, which in our house just meant I hadn't amounted to anything yet. So when they handed me $20 and asked me to grab some snacks for everyone at the gas station, I went inside without a second thought. I remember looking back at them, sitting in the car, blasting the AC. Dad was scrolling through the radio stations. Mom was reapplying lip gloss. Sarah was pretending not to see me. I bought a couple water bottles, a bag of chips, and a pack of gum. When I stepped back outside, the parking spot was empty. Just like that, gone. At first, I stood there in denial. I walked back into the store and asked the cashier if he'd seen a gray SUV pull around. He shrugged. "People come and go. Was it a rental?" "No, it's my parents," I said, my voice cracking. He looked at me, squinting. "They ditch you, or something." I didn't answer, because I didn't know. Not yet. I found a plastic chair on the side of the building, sat down, and stared at my phone. I called my mom. No answer. Dad, straight to voicemail. Sarah. It rang twice before going to message not delivered. I checked the Find My iPhone app. Sarah's location had been turned off. It hit me then, that sick, sinking feeling. They planned this. They didn't forget me. They left me. I sat outside that gas station for 6 hours. At one point, the cashier came out and handed me a bottle of water. "You got a place to go, sweetheart?" "No," I said quietly. "You got any money?" I pulled out the $5 bill, crumpled, damp from the heat. He shook his head and went back inside. The sun started to set. I watched cars come and go, families piling into minivans, laughing, couples arguing over directions. No one looked at me twice. I had never felt smaller in my life. It wasn't the abandonment that broke me. It was the realization that they thought I deserved it. That leaving me behind wasn't a mistake. It was a message. They wanted to show me I couldn't survive without them. But they were wrong. Because the next morning, I stood up, brushed the dust off my jeans, tied my hair back, and made a promise. I wasn't going to call them. I wasn't going to beg them to come back. I was going to make it on my own. And one day, they'd regret ever thinking I couldn't. The morning after they left me at that gas station, I woke up on a bench outside a 24-hour diner. My neck ached, my back was stiff, and my stomach growled so loudly I swear the pigeons gave me side-eye. I hadn't eaten since the bag of chips from the night before. There was a part of me, a small, pathetic part, that still expected to see my dad's car pull up. That maybe, just maybe, they'd come back around, say it was all a twisted lesson in independence, a test. But the road stayed empty, and so did my hope. I stood up, wiped the sleep from my eyes, and walked into that diner with my last $5, and a smile so forced I thought my face might break. The waitress behind the counter looked tired, not in the way that sleep fixes, but the kind that settles in your bones. She raised an eyebrow when she saw me. "You look like hell." "I feel like it too," I replied. Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. I sat at the counter and ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. Toast and coffee. She slid it in front of me, then hesitated. "That all you got to eat today?" I nodded. She walked off without another word. 5 minutes later, she came back with a small plate of scrambled eggs and a side of hash browns. "On the house," she said, then added, "Don't ask me for anything else." Her name was Marta. I would later learn she had 2 kids, a rusted pickup truck, and no tolerance for bullshit. She gave me food that morning, but more than that, she gave me the smallest piece of humanity I had left, and it was enough to get me going. Over the next few days, I stayed close to that diner. I had nowhere else to go. I asked Marta for work, anything, and she gave me the mop. "Floor's not gonna clean itself," she muttered. That became my job. Mopping floors at 11 p.m. when the last customers were gone. Scraping gum off the booths. Washing dishes in water so hot it peeled the skin off my fingers. No uniform, no real paycheck, just a few bucks under the table and leftover food wrapped in foil. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't even dignified, but it was mine. And it was the first step towards something better. Marta let me crash on her couch after the 3rd night of sleeping on park benches. She said it was temporary, 3 nights tops, but I ended up staying 6 months. She never asked questions. She never asked about my family, or why a girl like me, with college on her resume and manners that clearly didn't come from the streets, ended up cleaning grease traps in a diner off I-10. She just watched, and in her silence, I found a strange kind of safety. At night, I drew. I sketched ideas in the margins of receipts, napkins, cardboard. I designed logos, restaurant menus, a full rebranding for the diner, just for fun. One night, Marta caught me. "What the hell is all this?" she asked, flipping through the stack I had shoved under the couch. I froze. "Nothing, just doodles." She squinted at one of the mock-ups. "You made this?" "Yeah," she whistled low. "Damn, this looks legit." 2 days later, she handed me a battered laptop someone had pawned but never claimed. "You're wasting talent scrubbing floors. Figure something else out." That was all she said. But it changed everything. With that laptop and an internet connection I stole from the pizza place next door, I built my first portfolio. I uploaded designs to freelance sites, made a logo for a dog walking business for $10, then a flyer for a local tattoo shop for $15. Then someone hired me to rebrand their Etsy store. It wasn't much, but it was enough. And slowly, I started making real money. Not a lot, but more than Marta's couch could handle. So I moved into a room above a laundromat. $400 a month, utilities included. It smelled like dryer sheets and wet socks. The windows didn't open all the way. The sink leaked, but it was mine. Every time I walked up those stairs, key in hand, I reminded myself, I did this. No help, no safety net, just grit and spite, so much spite. On the 1-year anniversary of the day they left me at that gas station, I didn't cry, I didn't text, I didn't even open my photo album. Instead, I bought myself a cupcake, lit a candle, and whispered out loud, "Happy Independence Day." Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I bought 3 first-class tickets, one for Mom, one for Dad, and one for Sarah. Destination, anywhere. Just enough money for a round trip. Attached was a note. "Thanks for teaching me how to survive. I won't be needing you anymore. I'll be in Tokyo next week. On business. Oh, and by the way, I'm the CEO now." I hadn't spoken to my parents or sister in over a year. There were no birthday calls, no awkward family holidays, no forwarded memes or passive-aggressive group texts, just silence. And for the first time in my life, it wasn't scary, it was peaceful. I'd gone from mopping floors in a dingy diner to building a small design agency that actually made money, real money. It started with logos and websites, then product branding, then full identity packages for small businesses. Word got around, referrals rolled in. Eventually, a wellness brand in San Francisco reached out for a full campaign. That deal changed everything. I went from renting a tiny room over a laundromat to signing a lease on a minimalist office space downtown. Exposed brick, clean lines, soft lighting. I called it Brightline Studio, a name that meant nothing to anyone but me. To me, it meant this: I had drawn a bright, unbreakable line between who I used to be and who I was now. One afternoon, I sat in the glass meeting room, pitching to a group of investors who wanted branding for their startup accelerator. I was poised, confident, wearing a suit I bought with the first $1,000 I ever made on my own. Halfway through my presentation, I caught my reflection in the window, sharp, controlled, unapologetic. I didn't recognize her, but I liked her. The day everything changed again, it started with a phone call. I was reviewing a final pitch deck when my assistant, Jenna, buzzed in through the intercom. Kayla, you might want to come out here." I stood, confused, walked into the main room, and there it was, a package, wrapped in gold foil, hand-delivered. I knew that handwriting immediately. My mother's. I didn't open it right away, just stared at it like it might explode. The staff were watching. I took it into my office and closed the door. Inside the box was a card and a printed invitation. The card was written in her careful, scripted handwriting. "Dear Kayla, we saw your name in that article. Your company looks impressive. We're so proud of you. We're throwing a family dinner this Sunday. Come home. We'd love to see you again. Love, Mom and Dad." The invitation was for a party, my sister's birthday, a backyard celebration, nothing fancy, the kind of thing they used to throw every year while pretending I didn't exist. But now I was worth inviting. Now they'd love to see me again. I stared at the words so long they started to blur. Not because I was emotional, because I was trying to figure out if this was a joke. These people hadn't checked on me once when I was sleeping on a stranger's couch. They hadn't offered a dime when I was skipping meals and rationing instant noodles. Now that I was successful, now that my face was in a magazine under the headline, "Young Founders to Watch," they remembered me. I placed the card down, flat and cold, and made my decision. I was going, but not for them, for me. I arrived at the party alone. My car, a sleek electric SUV, brand new, crunched over the gravel driveway like a storm coming in. The music was loud, laughter floated through the yard. I saw string lights, a catered buffet, and familiar faces from my childhood. Neighbors, family friends, old co-workers of my dad's. No one saw me yet. I stepped through the gate, and like some kind of slow-motion cliché, heads started to turn, eyes widened, mouths dropped. A few people whispered. I hadn't changed much, but success wears like armor. My clothes fit sharper, my posture had confidence. My eyes didn't scan the crowd for approval. I wasn't trying to be liked anymore. I was just watching. My mother rushed over. "Oh my God, Kayla." She hugged me like we were long-lost best friends. Like she hadn't been part of the reason I ended up abandoned at a gas station 2 years ago. You look amazing, she beamed. We've been following your company. That feature in Forbes, wow. I forced a polite smile. Glad you saw it, I said, tone flat. Then my dad appeared, with the same fake pride in his eyes that he used to wear when introducing me to his friends as the smart one. Your sister's going to be so excited you came, he said. Was she? Because the moment Sarah saw me from across the yard, her smile faltered. She walked over, champagne in hand, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my first month's rent at Marta's place. Kayla, she said slowly. Didn't think you'd actually come, I shrugged. Didn't think you'd invite me, she laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Well, you're practically famous now. Figured you'd appreciate the PR opportunity. And there it was. The real reason they wanted me here. I was a prop, a trophy, something shiny to show off to people who used to pity them for losing their daughter. Guess I'm useful again, I muttered under my breath. What? Nothing, I said, brushing past her. I spent the next hour pretending, smiling, accepting compliments from people who once told my parents I was a waste of potential. Listening to stories about Sarah's new business idea that, surprise, wasn't actually her idea at all. I was waiting for the moment, and then it came. My dad stood by the mic near the dessert table, cleared his throat. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge someone special who's with us today. Every head turned. I braced myself. Our daughter Kayla, he said. She's doing amazing things, running her own company, employing dozens of people, changing the world. We couldn't be prouder. He looked at me like he expected applause. What he got was silence, until I stepped forward. I took the mic from him, smiled sweetly. Thanks, Dad, I said. But I think it's time we stop pretending. I scanned the crowd. You didn't raise a CEO, you left her at a gas station. Gasps, eyes widened. My mother froze. And you know what? I continued, my voice calm, steady, brutal. I'm thankful for that. Because the moment you walked away, I learned what I was capable of. A few people awkwardly looked at their drinks. I built my life with no help, no calls, no backup plans. Everything I am today, it happened after you erased me. I handed the mic back and walked away. I didn't look back. Later that night, I sat in my car, parked outside the same house I grew up in, same window I used to stare out of, wondering when I'd feel like I belonged. I started the engine, opened my phone, and deleted the last photo I had of the four of us together. Then I texted Marta. Still up? I'm bringing pie. She replied immediately. Only if it's pecan. I smiled for real. Because that night, I finally understood something I never had before. Family isn't blood. It's the people who show up when you're nothing and stay when you become something. And mine was waiting with coffee, pie, and zero judgment. The first thing I saw when I opened my phone the next morning was my face. It was a photo from last night, taken in bad lighting, mid-sentence, caught at the worst possible angle, a screenshot, posted publicly, with a caption that stopped my breath. This is what entitlement looks like. Our daughter Kayla humiliated us at her sister's birthday in front of 60 people. We gave her life, love, and support, and she threw it back in our faces. Posted by my mother, under her real name, with her real profile picture, tagged with every mutual relative and friend she could think of. The comments were already rolling in. Oh no, Lilith. That's heartbreaking. How could she do that to you? Ungrateful brat. All that success clearly went to her head. This generation has no respect. I'd disown her. It spread like wildfire. By noon, my LinkedIn inbox was flooded. Not from clients, from nosy ex-coworkers, family friends I hadn't spoken to in years, distant cousins, asking, what happened? Is it true? My own aunt, the one who once asked me for a $3,000 loan, commented, your poor mother, she's always done everything for you. And Sarah, my sister, she reposted it with 3 broken heart emojis and the words, family should stay private, but sometimes silence protects the wrong people. I didn't know what infuriated me more, the gaslighting or the fact that people believed it. Because they weren't just twisting the truth, they were rewriting it. Suddenly, the girl who had been left at a gas station was the one who abandoned her family. The woman who built a company from nothing was now too good for her roots. The daughter, who had been erased, was the one now accused of cruelty. For a second, I sat there, phone in hand, heart pounding, and wondered if I'd made a mistake by ever showing up at that party. But then I remembered, people like them don't change. They just change tactics. And this time, I wasn't backing down. I didn't reply, not right away. Instead, I opened my laptop and got to work. I pulled up every voicemail I'd saved, every message from those early days when they left me stranded, ignored my calls, drained my account, and laughed about it in group texts. I still had the screenshots. I'd saved them, not out of spite, but because something in me knew I'd need proof one day. That day had come. I packaged it all into a folder, labeled it for later, and then I drafted a response. Not a sob story, not a personal essay, just the truth. A clean, calm, factual post. No emotion, just timelines, events, evidence. With dates and receipts, I wrote, I never intended to share personal details online, but when someone publicly misrepresents you, silence becomes complicity. Here are the facts. I was left at a gas station 2 years ago while my family went on vacation. They did not contact me. I rebuilt my life alone. Recently, they invited me back, not to reconcile, but to use me for appearances. When I declined to stay quiet, they retaliated. I have no hate, just boundaries. No name-calling, no drama, just truth. I posted it at 5:32 p.m. By 5:40, it had over 1,000 shares. By 6:15, a journalist messaged me, "Would you be willing to talk? We'd love to feature your journey." By 8 o'clock, my mother deleted her post. But the fallout didn't stop there. At the diner where I used to work, Marlo called me, laughing so hard she had to put me on speaker. 3 people came in, asking if you really built Brightline from scratch, said they read the post and couldn't believe it. You're officially a local legend. Ezra, now my head of marketing, forwarded me a Reddit thread titled, Girl Boss Left at Gas Station, Builds Empire, Wrecks Her Narc Family in one post. Someone even made a TikTok montage of my quotes, with dramatic piano music and glitter text. I should have been embarrassed. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I was defending myself. I felt seen. The narrative wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. And as for my family, they went quiet. Not because they learned anything, but because public humiliation is only fun when they're the ones dishing it out. I thought that would be the end of it. But then the final twist came. My sister emailed me. Subject line, "Are you happy now?" I stared at it for a while before opening it. You really had to burn it all down, didn't you? You could have just let us move on. You didn't have to drag Mom into this. She's been sick over it. Dad's furious. You always did love the spotlight. No apology, no acknowledgement, just blame. Just projection, just more of the same. I didn't reply. Instead, I printed it out and folded it into my journal. Under the section I'd labeled, Proof I Was Right to Walk Away. That night, I sat on the rooftop of my apartment, sipping hot tea while the city lights blinked around me. I thought about the gas station. I thought about the cold floor I'd slept on that night, about the $5 I had left, the missed calls, the voicemail that said, "You'll figure it out, you always do." And I smiled. Because I did. But not for them. For me. And they would never get credit for my survival again. The sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new apartment, casting golden lines across the polished hardwood floor. For a moment, everything was still. Peaceful, warm, quiet. A far cry from the gas station bathroom where I had washed my face a year ago, abandoned with a $5 bill and a backpack full of nothing but worn clothes and hurt. But this was mine. I set my coffee down and opened my laptop. New emails were already piling in. Interview requests, partnership proposals, A brand invitation from a major business magazine. It had only been 3 days since my story went viral. A reporter had picked it up after my quiet little social media post. Just a simple picture of my CEO badge next to a childhood photo. The caption read, "They left me at a gas station. I left them behind and built this instead." The internet had done what the internet does best. They made it a movement. Walk away, strong. Thousands of comments, messages from strangers who saw themselves in my story. People saying, "This gave me the strength to cut ties with my toxic family." Or, "I thought I was alone. Thank you for showing me I'm not." That was the unexpected part. I hadn't told my story to be inspirational. I had just wanted to breathe. But now I was someone people looked up to. A soft knock at my door pulled me out of my thoughts. It was Ezra. He held up 2 croissants and a smug smile. "You didn't eat breakfast, did you?" I let him in, shaking my head. "You know I'm too busy for carbs." "And yet," he said, placing one on my plate, "you still eat them when I bring them." We sat at the little dining table together, the silence between us comfortable, familiar, safe. He glanced at my laptop. "You're everywhere, you know. My coworker literally quoted your story yesterday, like it was a TED Talk." I laughed, a real laugh. The kind I hadn't allowed myself for so long. "I'm not a guru," I said. "No," he agreed. "You're just a woman who refused to stay broken." I looked out the window, the city stretching beneath me. The very city I used to wander with blistered feet and an empty stomach. Now I owned 2 businesses here. One was my startup. The other was a mentorship program I'd just launched for young women trying to escape toxic homes and build their own future. Funny how life flips. A ping came from my phone. A new email. Subject, "We miss you," from Lilith Whitmore. I didn't open it. Instead, I opened the draft folder, where I had written and rewritten a dozen responses I never intended to send. And then I did something better. I hit delete, not out of anger, not out of pain, but because I didn't need it anymore. Their absence no longer haunted me. It freed me. "Kayla," Ezra said, "what now?" I thought for a moment. Now, I travel. Now, I speak. Now, I live. "I think it's time to visit Paris," I said, smiling. "You in?" He raised his croissant like a toast. "To new chapters," I clinked mine against his. "To leaving the past behind." And with that, we packed light, booked flights, and walked out of my apartment, hand in hand. No tears, no drama, just quiet victory. If you're still here, thank you. You made it through this entire journey with me. Maybe you saw a piece of yourself in my story. Maybe you've been carrying the weight of people who never deserved your loyalty. Let me tell you something. You do not owe your peace to anyone who built their comfort on your pain. Walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Let them call you selfish. Let them gossip. Let them guilt you. You have a life to build. So if this story hit home for you, drop a 1 in the comments, or tell me where you're watching from. I want to hear your story too. And if you're ready to reclaim your power, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this is just one story, and there are so many more we need to tell. See you in the next one.